Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to today's video. There are like at least one or two videos that are going to be different, unlike other projects that have been made. The first one is probably going to be explaining all these 4 new helicopters that have been recently added to the game, or generally the changes that have been applied to helicopters recently. And the second one is either going to be a sim session with the Mirage 2000 DR1, or it could be explaining how the entire Apache's HUD actually works. So I don't know, let me know in the comment section which one of them would you like to see next. And honestly, I generally don't like to upload unedited content that much because, as an editor, I need to keep the video at least interesting for myself. So I myself would love to watch it. So yeah, I want to shove as much memes on this thing as possible and not make it as boring and unfunny and unentertaining as possible. So yeah, let's begin with our first helicopter. Okay, so let's start with the first helicopter, which is the AH-1W, both identified in the United States and Chinese tech trees. The American Super Cobra is located in between AH-1Z and AH-1F, while the Taiwanese AH-1W is located right after the OH-58D. Right, so historically this helicopter was supposed to be the follow-up from the AH-1J, which the US Marines did not order too many of them. Then they had a plan to upgrade the AH-1Js to AH-1Ts, and several years later, in the following decade, they also wanted to replace them with the AH-64s, but that was denied by the Congress. And then Marines got to work and started upgrading their helicopters even further by giving it better fire control system, better armaments such as Hellfires, thermal visions, and etc. And there you have it, you have the AH-1W. Now when it comes to both of these tech trees, the AH-1W, comparing it to its predecessor, it is indeed a major upgrade. The Chinese heli tree itself is actually split into 2 sections. You have the Chinese and then the Taiwanese. The Chinese section includes Z-19, Z-9W, Z-9WA, Z-10, and etc. And then you have the right side, which is mostly Western influenced helicopters, because you have the Gazelle, which is also a Chinese helicopter, but then from OH-58D. It is going to be pretty much Taiwanese helicopters, and pretty much after the Gazelle, it is going to be Western copy-paste vehicles from down. For example, I would probably assume after the AH-1W, we are either going to see, I don't know, either a Pakistani helicopter or straight up going towards the AH-64E. Now, whenever Gaijin's gonna add that in the future. Now, comparing the OH-58D Kiowa Warrior to the AH-1W Super Cobra is going to be a little bit unusual because their roles are totally different, but if you want to get the AH-1W, feel free to get it, because let me tell you, you get much better quantity of missiles, cannons, rockets, even A9Ls, like, you name it, dude. This thing does everything, but maneuverability wise it's going to be a little bit worse, but generally the AH-1W can be a very good upgrade. But hey, if you want to go to ground RB and still be an anti-air, either pick the Z-19E or any other Chinese helicopter at the center. So yeah. And then you have the American one, of course, and honestly I really didn't find any major differences in between them. Probably copy and paste of each other. It's not like, for example, some of the armaments are missing or anything like that. I still haven't found it out yet. If I make a video on this thing, I definitely will, but as far as I know, there's not a lot of differences between them. Okay, imagine this. Daddy AH-1F and Mommy AH-1Z go to a room, get mixed up, you have the AH-1W. The AH-1W has pretty much the same engine as the AH-1Z, same rotary system as the AH-1F, and at the same time it has the same camera system as the AH-1F as well. So yeah, you can also carry TOW-2 missiles, Hellfire B missiles. You kind of get the gist of it. It's somewhere in between the AH-1Z and AH-1F. Exactly. Okay, fun fact about both of these guys is that the AH-1W actually has an HIRSS, which if it's installed, it is going to be literally the same thing as the AH-1Z. Except that we don't have this thing in Warthunder, so who knows, we might have it very soon, might not have it, I don't know, only future can tell. But yeah, there are a lot of things that I can't really say right now because this is a very short time video, so let me know in the comments section if you want to make a video on this thing in the future. Alright, so next up, let's have a look at the WeSS X HU-5.
Rev up the Bugatti!
Yes, I know. Funny 3 letters in this name. Also, I would like to call this the discuss. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this HU Mark 5 just for the sake of simplicity, and also YouTube is also a little bit funny when it comes to these kind of stuff. This helicopter is based off of the American H-34, if you, well, haven't noticed it already, except that it has a very long nose. So they would, you know, actually add up the engine intakes and, you know, fit the engines on the nose of the aircraft. Which, mind you, it is 2 turboshaft engines, and the history of this thing is quite interesting. You see, you would usually have, for example, the H-34 or, I don't know, the H-19s and whatnot. These helicopters were kind of getting outdated. Piston engines were too underpowered, and they were complex to fix and whatnot. So what you would usually do in this situation is that you would replace it with something better, and would be pretty much simple. So you had the United States, which had H-19s, H-34s and whatnot, and they were quite problematic, so they were replaced with UH-1s or HU-1 if historically accurate. Then you had the Soviet Union, which had the Mi-4, and that was replaced by the Mi-8, even though the Mil Design Bureau took them a lot of time to convince the commanders that, hey, turboshaft engines are actually better. Eventually they were replaced by the Mi-8, which had 2 turboshaft engines. And then you have Royal Navy, which decided to upgrade their helicopters and have turboshaft engines on them. And let me tell you, what a major upgrade. Except the fact that this helicopter is one of the ugliest machines I've seen in this goddamn game. This helicopter's engines are quite powerful. And this thing served for 42 years in the Royal Navy. And during these 42 years, it did a lot of things. I'm telling you, like, you had troop transport, cargo, medevac unit, you have submarine warfare, and apparently it also carried the members of the royal family as well. And this helicopter has a lot of history behind it, despite actually looking like Satan's poop. Despite the fact that this helicopter coming out of Satan's butt, it is not as slow as you might think. You see, you have the usual H-34 over here. The engine is quite underperforming, it takes quite a bit of time to reach 100% of collective pitch, and overall it feels sluggish, it feels slow, it takes a lot of time to reach its top speed, and you know, it's not really that great. With this thing on the other hand, this still has a bad maneuverability because, you know, the entire helicopter design itself is pretty old, but let me tell you, this thing reaches 257 kilometers very easily. This is a very old helicopter platform with a beautiful turboshaft engines on it. Other than the mobility and maneuverability, it doesn't have a lot of armaments. It has 4 SS-11s or AS-11s, and then it has AS-12s, which you can carry both of them at the same time. You know, 2 AS-12s and AS-11s at the same time. And then you have the RP rockets, which, how can I say this without being disrespectful? Okay, it's a piece of shit, useless armament. Don't even think about using this goddamn thing in battle. Unless you want to fire at, I don't know, well, let's say a truck. You don't have a lot of explosive mass, you don't have a lot of TNT equivalent and penetration. Sure, the speed is nice, the range might be good, but you barely even tickling the enemy. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest you to pick up these goddamn rockets. But yeah, honestly, this helicopter looks very much interesting, and it looks, well, it doesn't look decent, but hey, you know what? It's a very interesting design and very interesting helicopter when it comes to history. But honestly, do you think it's worth 360,000 RP to get this goddamn thing in 9.0 with 1 million SL? I don't think so. Gaijin, are you out of your goddamn mind? Come on, dude, an F8U2 is more cheaper than this goddamn thing. Gaijin, come on. Okay, next up is going to be the AH-60 Blackhawk.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a Blackhawk, it's a Battlehawk. Yes, Battlehawk. Okay, so quick history on this helicopter. This is basically the replacement for the UH-1. The UH-1s were getting quite old, and US Army wanted a new helicopter. You had 2 competitors, the Bell and the Sikorsky, and yeah, the Bell gave it the YU-H-61 and Sikorsky gave him the YU-H-60. But yeah, at the end of the day, you had the Sikorsky winning the contract, and yeah, you have the Blackhawk over here. Okay, fast forward several years later, you have basically a program that wants to make armed Blackhawks. The MH-60 LDAP, I'm not sure if it's completely related to this one, but yeah, several companies come up, and then you have the AH-60 Battlehawk. But yeah, I'm not sure about United States, but currently as of now, I think Israel and Colombia, both of them actually use this helicopter. And generally, the most major difference I found between this helicopter and, you know, the UH-60 LDAP, or the MH-60 LDAP, is the frontal camera and, of course, the chin that it has. The Giga Chat chin. this is basically the same thing as the MH-60L DAP Blackhawk. I mean, you have the same engine, same fuel placements, same traction of the control surface placements, and it's pretty much the same, except maybe that direct action penetrator Blackhawk doesn't have the missile approach warning system, but I could be wrong. There's a text at the bottom that will say if I'm correct or not. But yeah, you have a flexible turret underneath, ironically. You have a 20mm Gyat M621 cannon. God, I'm very much sorry about that. And then you have Spike ER air-to-ground missiles, 16 of them. Jesus. Then you have Gator missiles, which, well, it kind of reminds me of the APKW S2s or AGR-20s with the M151 warhead. I mean, it basically has the similar stats, but honestly, I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is basically it. There could be a minor differences between the amount of countermeasures both of them carry, but in general, it's pretty much the same thing. If you want a more detailed review on this, also let me know in the comment section as well, which, well, but yeah, honestly, 16 Spike ERs. I am gonna have a blast with this thing in heli PvE, like denying it every single goddamn kill that I get. Let me tell you, it's gotta be FUN. Also, any other changes on the helis? The AH-1Z also received something special. An absolute middle finger from Gaijin. Like, seriously, this thing, yeah, sure, this thing does use the APKW S2s. Like, give it at least the K Hellfires, make it a major difference. B Hellfires are literally Stone Age era. Like, nobody uses the B Hellfires anymore. Please, Gaijin, give this thing the K variant. But yeah, the other minor changes as well. The AH-64s, all of them got a cockpit change. Even the YH-64. You have the two variants of the cockpit. You know, the AH-64A, the early cockpit with 1 MFD and, you know, majority of it being analog and whatnot. And then you have the AH-64D, which is a major improvement when it comes to like digital stuff on the cockpit. So if you want me to talk about this cockpit, yeah, let me know down in the comment section, and let's see what future holds for us. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you actually enjoyed this video. I know it was not the usual video that I had. I normally don't upload slop content, and I hope this one wasn't either. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Thank you for watching.